Elvira is my goddess. I love her as a character. I think she is fantastic. I'm just ashamed that it took me until, I think, last year to watch the film for the first time. I have seen it twice. I haven't seen all of the short films and TV bits that she's done. But the film itself, Elvira, Mistress of Dark, released in 1988, is so beautiful and so much better than I ever could have imagined. Directed by James Signorelli and stars the amazing Cassandra Peterson as Elvira. And to be honest, the only reason this came on my radar properly is because I was in the Hollywood and Highlands Centre in Hollywood, and there's this shop that sells a mixture of American candy and gothic clothing. Heaven, really. And they had an entire room just dedicated to Elvira, and I so regret not watching this beforehand. My bank balance is glad that I watched it afterwards because she is love. Elvira goes to this small town because she's inherited a mansion from a family member. This mansion is not in the best condition, and she also inherits this little dog who is exceptionally cute to begin with and then goes under a bit of a makeover thanks to Elvira and her fashion sense, this entertaining little poodle. She decides to spend some time in this small town doing up this mansion, and in doing so, several people come along and help her. A lot of young teenage boys come along and help her because she has two sizable assets that will attract the young teenage boy and most other men in the community, actually. Which is interesting because, certainly from the women's perspective in the community, Elvira is basically the devil. They're very conservative, very reserved, and Elvira is basically the exact opposite. But the great thing about Elvira is that it's not too cheesy. Well, actually, that's a lie. On the one hand, it's exceptionally cheesy. On the other hand, even though she has these, shall I say, two giant assets, she's not a sexual being. She doesn't always know necessarily the effect she has on other people. Or maybe she does, but that's not why she's doing it. This is just who she is. And she's absolutely fantastic. There's a little bit of magic in here, which has some pretty hilarious effects. But ultimately, while the plot is brilliant, having Elvira in this quaint little town with this house that basically has a life of its own, it is Elvira. It is Elvira that makes this work. She is amazing. I love her. I love her personality. I love her appearance. I love her attitude. I love the way other people interact with her. The dialogue is amazing. I haven't actually got hold of the script for this. I don't know if it's online anywhere for free, but there are so many things that I could just pluck out of this that I just found so entertaining, and a lot of it's kind of ironic or done tongue-in-cheek. It's just absolutely splendid. The lighting is amazing. The colour palettes are exquisite. It's often quite brightly coloured, which, obviously with Elvira being dressed head to toe in black is quite a strong contrast and works beautifully well. It really is an absolutely beautiful, gorgeous, sensational film. And I watched it, and when I stopped watching it, I basically just thought, where has that been my whole life? And as I said, had I fallen in love with Elvira before I went to Hollywood, I probably would have come away with a lot of clothes. Amazing shop, by the way. They sell loads of Creepsville and things like that. But nevertheless, I'm glad that I have now fallen in love with Elvira. Better late than never. She is amazing. The film itself is rated 15, so it's not horrifically... First of all, I should point out this is not it's a horror, but it's a comedy. It's not scary at all. But it is hilariously funny and deeply ironic and creative, and Cassandra Peterson's performance is just absolutely brilliant. And what's absolutely fantastic as well is if you look at pictures of Cassandra Peterson as herself, it's just hard to believe it's the same person. That's how amazing her acting is. Obviously, a lot of costumes and makeup as well. But she's fantastic. She's still performing as Elvira sometimes. Absolutely brilliant. Definitely watch Elvira if you like things that are quirky and a little bit different. If you like things like Addams Family, Beetlejuice, anything else that's dark and funny. Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, is a brilliant film. Elvira, the woman, is love.